Hello, Internet. This is Artgren, and we're going to talk a little bit about World v. World. And there's supposed to actually be a V World because there's three, but it just doesn't roll off the tongue very well. Not going to do it. I'm going to hop on my Hunter here. So we're going to talk about the biggest problems with World v. World, at least in my opinion. Some people will agree, some people won't agree. I'm not really worried about that. Not 0%. Oh, I got some copper ore. So first we're going to talk about one of the four main problems I feel with World v. World. And then as rewards, that's one of the hugest, if not the hugest problem with World v. World. Just why even bother going if you're not going to get anything? Attendance, how many people actually want to go to World v. World. So then many servers have population they could actually do this, do stuff with, but they just simply, no one really wants to go out and represent their server. Boredom, this is one that is a pretty big issue. I do have some solutions, and we're going to go through them as the video goes on. I'm just going to kill some things before I hop into World v. World here. And then last is coverage. And this is one that many servers struggle with. And I have some ideas, and I don't have all the answers or the best ideas ever. But we're going to go through some of this stuff and see if we can't come to an agreement and figure something out. Uh-oh. What have I done? Okay, let's kill him quick. Okay, so first, we're going to talk about rewards. Now, this one's going to be really simple. Oh, no. What have I done? Get out of here. Bear, stop. There. Now, I'm going to go to my homelands. I play on Sanctum overall. We used to be tier 1, and this is not why I'm making the video, because I really kind of like it a little down here. It's less hardcore. Anyways, so over here we have the World v. World sort of traders. They have the Karma equipment. They have the badge equipment. So what I propose for the rewards is very simple. At the end of a week, I'm actually highlighting the sort of the blue laurels and stuff like that for a reason. At the end of every week, the winners would be 2, say, World v. World tokens, and the losers would get 1. Or you could even have it so that the winning side gets 3, the second place gets 2, last place gets 1. But I don't really feel like punishing last place that much is really such a good idea. You want to focus on winning, right? Because otherwise it'll just be 2 servers, pummeling the loser. With the winners being the only ones winning, it's both the other bottom servers want to take them out. Now, what these tokens are going to be used for are unique skins for weapons and armor. That can only be obtained through this means. Now, what this does is it actually kind of gives you a bit of prestige. Like, our server's doing really good, and I get a reward for it. It's not the greatest reward in the world, but really, this game is about cosmetic rewards. Legendaries are no better than Ascendeds. Like right now on my Ranger, I'm using an Ascended shortbow. I could have a legendary shortbow there. It wouldn't make any difference. It's exactly the same. It's just a different skin. So, what that means is that the best way to reward someone is through cosmetics. And the best way to do that is by making exclusive World v. World only cosmetic skins. That way, guess what? We now have a tangible reason to want to go out. Make them look really cool. Give them an animated effect. Especially on the weapons. The armor, I don't think any armor really has animated effects, save for like the Citadel of Flame shoulders. Yay. But that way you can offer something that someone actually wants to go out. People will want to go out and get this, which deals with attendance. People will go out so that they can earn these rewards, and they want to help because they want to get the 2 tokens so they get their armors and weapons faster. That is a victory. So that's one way of making rewards better, because the other rewards in World v. World are kind of arguable because, if I recall correctly, World v. World is one of the better places to get precursors, because everything is 80, level 80. So you also can get a lot of the Dragonite ore and a lot of the Imperial fragments and a lot of the piles of Bloodstone dust. So those aspects of the reward are there. You just need something really good to get people to actually want to go out there, because Ascendeds are frankly a little bit too hard for casual players to get. But giving them this awesome, skin reward is something they can earn and they know they can get. So yeah, I'm gonna go out. You could even have a daily attendance sort of thing. Like you could have it so the winners every week get 2, but you can earn sort of daily achievements to get one of the tokens and then make the price a little higher than, say, you would have if you only got 1 or 2 in a week. So that way people want to go out every day and actually participate in World v. World. This is great. This would be an awesome way to get people sort of into the World v. World, and a great way to reward veterans and people who play it a lot. So then that way they can go, check that guy out, in Lion's Arch. Yeah, that guy World v. Worlds a lot. He's got that full, World v. World skin, and it's not the badge one. It's that really cool one. So right there, we now have a way to very easily implement a system of rewards that can make it totally worth coming out and doing World v. World. Because, look, I got 3,000 badges of honor. I buy sets of, the badge of honor gear for all my guys all the time. Those are tangible rewards, but they're not really, really great ways to get people to constantly come out. It's kind of just, those. Versus something that you can only earn, and that would be super cool, because let's face it, the badge of honor armor isn't super cool. I'll log out really quick and show you. I have it on my warrior. I don't hate it, but it's just not super special. Like, it's good looking, but it's just not super special. You want something that's just, it really sticks out, that's really awesome, everyone wants. Of course, not everyone's going to agree, but at least the weapon skins, you can do something really cool, especially with the animations. Like make them mist weapons. So next we're going to go to the Edge of the Mists. This is one of the main reasons that people complain about attendance and coverage. Because people, let's all just go to Edge of the Mists. Now, the one proposition I've actually seen people on the forums mention is, hey, we should use this map instead of the Borderlands, because I'm highlighting all of it now. And I'll tell you why that's a bad idea. And I'm not shooting them down because, hey, anyone who's just trying to come up with great ideas to revitalize World v. World, I welcome those. And I think the community welcomes those, because that's really what we need right now. So the reason that it's really not a good idea to use this map are for 2 main reasons. Class stacking, and it's simply too easy to defend this map. Now, what I mean by class stacking is because you notice all these little bridges that I'm sort of circling over. Those mean that warriors and necros, maybe engineers have fear? I don't know. I don't know engineers very well. But definitely necros. Everyone's going to want to be, okay, bring a necro, bring a necro, bring a necro. So all the organized guilds are going to be like, hey, level a necro so we can fear people off the bridge. That kind of goes against what I feel the best part of Guild Wars 2 is just play whatever class you want. Seriously, especially more in World v. World than Dungeons. In Dungeons, you can argue, yeah, warriors and, thieves and mesmers and stuff, given the dungeons, different kind of things. But in World v. World, literally every class is viable and every class is wanted. Like, I want a good mix of classes whenever I do sort of guild raids, and many guild commanders will agree, because you want that different kind of ability. You want the just the range of different abilities. You want your necros to run in there and deal a bunch of damage AoE. You want rangers for that range to take out cannons when you're sieging and to take out people on the wall. You want thieves so that you can do stealth teams and Havoc teams. You want the warriors for obviously pure damage. You want guardians to help defend. That's what the beauty of Guild Wars 2, especially World v. World, is. But this map doesn't really allow that to be. Instead, it's like, hey, stack classes that can fear so you can knock people off the wall, so knock people off the walls, off the bridges. You just don't want that. The other reason is because it's too easy to defend. These walls are the reason it's simply too easy to defend, because all you gotta do is just have arrow carts up there. So before they can even get to any of your good stuff like the fortress, they have to deal with this. And that's just really rough, because you got to go through one wall, which gives everyone the amount of time they need to easily get up to you and wipe your Zerg. That's just not conducive of a really strong play. And because everything is so simple to take, except for the fortresses, this map doesn't work. But the reason that I really agree with a lot of people saying this, and I'm going to actually get into this really quick here, is that it's asymmetrical in a lot of ways. The bell tower isn't exactly symmetrical with the airport, which isn't exactly symmetrical with the sanctuary. Or statuary. Sorry, I got that wrong. Anyways, life will go on. So because of that, it's a lot easier. Like, yes, the spire, the needle, and the perch are kind of close to each other, but there's a little bit here that kind of... It's the other reason it's also asymmetrical is because of the debuffs that come from the different fortresses. But the best one and the best map in World v World, in my personal opinion, is Eternal Battlegrounds, because it has something in the middle everyone wants to fight for, and it's asymmetrical. Asymmetrical works. Like, look, you got Wild Creek, Anzalias, and Durios as your sort of three main sort of forts that are close there, but they're not asymmetrical to each other. They're different. Anzalias and Wild Creek are closer than Durios. This is the kind of idea that every map should be. So I'm going to talk about the maps and say boredom for a little bit right here. So boredom comes from, why even bother? So the rewards can help, but it's not going to do the whole thing. We've got to do something different. And the thing that we need to do is get rid of the Borderlands map. And you're going to go, well, that's a bit extreme, but really it's not. The reason that Eternal Battlegrounds is so good, I personally believe it's the best. I'm actually going to hop over there right now. Hopefully it's not queued. I don't think it's really queued because we're not tier 1 anymore. Sanctum of Rawl is quite down there, and it's kind of fun playing on the smaller fries. I don't have to wait in queue anymore. Ooh, looks like we're getting attacked. Oh, maybe I'll open it a bit. Oh, it looks like we got enough people. Anyways, so this map works a lot better because it's asymmetrical. And because of that, it just feels different. Like if you're on green side, it feels different. It's got a lot of water. It feels swampy. The blue side's got a lot of the walls, and the red side's got a lot of the hills. It feels different. It feels that, if you are on red side, you're taking someone else's territory, and it actually means something. But if you're playing on the battlegrounds, it's kind of like, well, I'm red, which is the same as blue, which is the same as green. It's boring that when I think I'm going to go take over someone's territory and it's exactly the same as mine, why, just in a psychological, not a video game standpoint, but a psychological standpoint, why should I even bother? What difference does it make? It's exactly the same. There's no point. Like, why would I take over your fort, which is exactly the same as my fort? It doesn't really make a lot of sense. Now, what I propose is that instead of having the Borderlands map, we knock that out. We keep Eternal Battlegrounds. Absolutely, I love the Eternal Battlegrounds map. But we make 3 new maps in the same style as Eternal Battlegrounds. So you can keep the map kind of like the Borderlands. You can kind of do the main Citadel, but I don't like that. The reason I don't like that is that it's right sort of close to the middle of the map, and it's a no-go zone. So the entire Borderlands map, we have this big, huge no-go zone. Like, unless you are part of that, you can't go there. Now, you could say, okay, well, there's the same for over here, and there's the same for over here, but the Eternal Battlegrounds map is actually a little bit smaller. It's sizable, but it's not quite as big. But it feels really large because there's a lot of different places to go, a lot of different things to see. Now, I like the PvE elements as well, having these ogre camps. I was a little sad to see that they got rid of the Quagan camps. Yes, it was annoying getting thunderbolted and moving a little slower, but it was a nifty little thing. I was sad to see them go because it was at least something kind of sorta to fight over. I don't dislike the buffs. Now, this is going to mention coverage. I'm going to get into this one in a little bit. I want to finish my sort of spiel on the Borderlands maps first. But we have these, and these are the Bloodlust buff, or I think it was what it's called. Do we have it? Yeah, the Bloodlust buff. I was right. So it's such a non-thing on smaller servers, or even for anything for that matter. It's kind of just there. And I don't think that we should take this out. This is good. Now, the reason it's good is it encourages skirmishing. In larger servers, this is probably more of a point of contention than in smaller servers. Smaller servers, it's just kind of, okay, a little Havoc squad of 3 people are going to go take them. Sure. But at least it's that Havoc squad has something to do. And I totally agree, keep them. In fact, you could even have those instead of the Stone Mist Castle to give Stone Mist Castle a sort of reason to be, a raison d'etre, if you will. And instead, just have the middle, these Bloodlust buffs. But I'm going to get into this a bit. Well, I'm getting sidetracked here. So what I'm proposing for these maps is asymmetrical maps. And B, change the environment. I love the idea that green has this sort of lakey stuff. And I love the idea that it's a little more walled off and a little more just feels like ruins on blue side. And I love that it's more hilly on red. That makes it feel as if I'm going to someone else's stuff and taking it. It just, as a player, psychologically, it makes you feel more just awesome about it. Like you're actually going somewhere and taking something. I like that. So let's say we take a map and we base it on, say, the char zones. So I'm going to hop out of here for a quick second. And we're going to go sort of look at what we're going to make. Actually, let's start here. Let's start with the forests. With the Sylvari. I really like having a forest sort of be like a jungle. So imagine this in WvW. This would be kind of cool. You get the jungles, you got a little, you have a little bit of it, but it's mostly jungles. You have a bit of a lake. So one corner would say be a bit of jungle. One corner would be a bit of lake. And one part would be this sort of rocky, hilly stuff that we see a lot in the Azura territory. That'd be cool. That feels like, I'm part of the more foresty lake part, and they're more part of the, or you could even have caves. That would be great. Okay, so we're going to go the caves, we're going to go the forests, and we're going to go a bit of the lakey stuff. Now that's a great basis for a map. And even actually having one side sort of have a little couple parts that are actual lake to encourage underwater combat in WvW. I know Arena's given up on it, but it'd still kind of be cool. And that was one of my favorite parts of the original Borderlands map, is that sometimes water fights did break out. Yeah, it didn't really go anywhere a lot of times, but it was still kind of fun. You have to admit, it was kind of fun. Now, one would be the snow area, because there's three main sort of, there's the forest, there's the snow, and there's the desert. Yes, there's the ore, but that's its own kind of thing. Like, that's a PvE thing, let's be honest. So next is like the winter. You could even mix the winter with a little bit of this coastal stuff. In fact, that would be a really, really cool thing, because they sort of lead into each other. Or Mount Maelstrom. Let's do some lava. Let's do some snow. And let's do some of this grassland. That makes it feel, again, as if there's some sort of cool thing. And plus, you add ideas with choke points. With the lava, yes, you can jump right over it if you're smart and you know how to do it. But for those who are a little less seasoned, like a lot of the veterans who know that, hey, as long as you keep jumping and as long as you got some condition removal, you're not going to die immediately. Cool. Then some people know how to get around it and can use that to their advantage. Be sneaky, run around. Oh, well, the lava's the choke point. And then all of a sudden, hey, where did they come from? Ha, they know how to play the lava. That's good. That encourages great tactics. The commanders, that'll separate the good commanders from the kind of, okay, let's attack this thing next, to be like, hey, I've got a great idea. Let's do this. That's cool. And then you've got, it would be really kind of cool to have a little bit of this dragon corruption in one of the Borderlands. Let's hop over here really quick, because I think this is just really cool. It's like magical wastelands. I like this. This would be great for Borderlands. Yeah, just like this. It looks completely just ruined and crappy. Because, and another thing is, we're essentially they're fighting over this, so it makes kind of sense when you're blowing things up that eventually kind of lead to this. But having one that's got a little bit of this sort of grasslands, and then of course a lot of the closer to the desert type stuff that you get, that would be kind of fun. Because it makes you feel as if, again, you're taking over someone else's territory, and it's different than yours. This is not so much a necessary thing from a player standpoint, like a gameplay standpoint, though it can alter the gameplay, again, with the lava, with the water, things like that, or the more deserts place that would be more like the Char Zone has no water at all and has no real choke points. So it's kind of just out in the open. So that in itself is its own tactical advantage and disadvantage, which is interesting. It's compelling. It makes it different. It's not the same every time. Each Borderlands map isn't exactly the same. It's always got this here. It's always got that there. You can make it asymmetrical. You make it different. You can make it more interesting. You can make it more compelling. So in that way, commanders maybe want to focus on one map instead of just going, well, I'm going to focus on our home map. That's no different than focusing on someone else's home map. There's no difference. But you make them asymmetrical, and you make them so, maybe a commander spent all their gold trying to get a water legendary, because I personally think they're really cool looking. Maybe they want to focus on that map because they've got that water legendary. They want to maybe, hit some combat, swim a little so that they can show it off, or just feel special that they did that for themselves. Or maybe it's not even a commander. It's just a regular player that wants that sort of, more watery thing that we get over here on the green. That's good. That encourages a variety of different players to get into there. So this deals with a lot of the boredom that people play and can deal with attendance. Like, I want to play something that's got a little different, or I want to focus on a certain map. When every map is the same, it's just like, focus on our homelands. It's boring. So then, say if I'm on Sanctum Overall, and say we were playing against, who were we playing against this week? Darkhaven and Gates of Madness. So say Gates of Madness actually really doesn't like that desert map. They don't focus on it. They focus on, say, the snow map. Cool, because then that gives them, I don't have to stick around my homelands all the time. I can go to this map, and we can focus on this map really heavy, because we have great tactics and great abilities to deal with the snow and the lava and all that. We like that. Cool, because then that gives them a bit of an edge, and it gives them something that they want to focus on. And again, all the maps aren't going to be like these Borderlands maps. They're going to be more like the Eternal Battlegrounds map, where everyone has a corner, and it's a triangle, as you can see here. So there is a bit of symmetry here, but there's a lot of asymmetry here as well. There's a lot of, this camp is sort of different than this camp, is sort of different than this camp, is sort of, like they're not mathematically the exact same, which is interesting, it's compelling, it's good, because it changes tacticals. And no commander worth their salt is going to say, oh, let's make it just easier because making it tactically easier is just, it's fun. No, that's boring. You want different tactics. You want to do different things because then a commander can sort of feel more well-rounded, or you can have certain commanders, especially now that we have different tags. And yes, I actually am a commander. I'm not going to tag up as respect to these commanders currently, but there'll be, different color commanders. So, they can focus on different things. Again, most servers do the Havoc Squad kind of thing, but be like, I really like this part of the map, so I'm going to focus on this part of the map. This would help attendance in a great way because it feels like, Sanctum Overall, for example, we're really good on holding our home base. We're really strong on it. You can see they are missing only 2 camps. They're missing only 2 camps. I guess all these servers are really good at taking their own base. But Sanctum Overall in particular, you can ask anyone who has played or does play on Sanctum Overall, we focus a lot on our home base. So in this matchup, I've noticed in the last few days, it's mostly just been Eternal Battlegrounds, which is, I love it because I love Eternal Battlegrounds because of its asymmetry. Now, I've kind of gone over this enough, but the main points are make it different environments for tactical reasons, for just the satisfaction or the mental focus on taking something that isn't yours. And if it looks the same as yours, it feels like it's yours. Or, the Borderlands, it's always, this is the snowy one, this is the grassy one. Like, it just feels the same. It feels monotonous. Whereas Eternal Battlegrounds, it has that difference. But literally making difference in environment is quintessential to making the map more fun. So then that way, it feels like I'm going to a different environment and I'm taking over a different part of the world and showing off the wonderful scenery that this game has. Because it really does have wonderful scenery. It's got some great views. It's got some awesome looking stuff. Show it off. Let's show it off. Let's get the map designers to make 3 new maps. It's not like you have to spend, weeks and weeks making these maps. It's like you'll have to play test them and stuff. Yeah, maybe it will take weeks, but the actual initial design is not going to be super hard. It's super involved. It's not like we're redoing all of WvW World. We're just redoing sort of the way that a lot of people perceive it. Because that's the main focus point, is the perception. That I have the perception that I'm taking over something that's not mine. Because say I'm in the lakes or I'm in Sanctum Overall Borderland and I'm gonna take over the grassy hills that everyone else has. It's boring. And I'm not smack talking this game because I'm making a video about how to help it. Don't think that I'm arenaing it. I'm not throwing you under the bus. I'm giving you constructive feedback. It is just boring. And the reason it is boring is because it doesn't feel like I'm taking over someone else's stuff. So I'm a broken record at this point. You're probably like, okay, get on with it, Monty Python style. That's what I'm going to say about that. Make them like Eternal Battlegrounds. Make those points in the middle to fight over. And make them asymmetrical with different environments. So the Eternal Battlegrounds is awesome. Keep it the same. But new Borderlands. Let's just say this one's going to be, because according to the world map, this is where it would kind of be located. A bit of the desert, a bit the grasslands, and some of the charred ruins from the dragon corruption. And then we're going to go with the snow over here, a bit of the lava and the mountains, and a bit of the hills that you see in, say, Mount Maelstrom, or even some of the grasslands you see in the early starting zones for the Norn. And then, of course, you've got the forests, the bit of the lakes, and the hills that you see more in the Silvari and Azura areas. So that's what we're going to say about that. Now, we're going to get on to the final point, which is coverage. Now, coverage is a super big problem for a lot of servers, and the reason a lot of servers do not as well. Now, there are a few ways to address this. The easiest way, maybe not technically, I don't work at ArenaNet, so I don't know exactly how their servers would work, but making the weekly matches not weekly. Making them, say maybe 2-3 days long. Or maybe having a weekly tournament. So every match, there's 3 matches. Every match is 2 days. Now each of those servers would win their extra token, and then the weekly winner would say win 4 extra tokens. Or the number of tokens doesn't matter, but just give them that extra little oomph. You know what I mean? So then they get that reward. So there's actually a reason. And having a weekly sort of tournament would increase the competitiveness of it. So lowering the amount of time that the battles go on and giving the weekly sort of reward would be a great way to do it. A great way to deal with coverage. Say we're going to keep on with this single week sort of thing. The best way to deal with coverage is focusing on prime time. Now, you're going to have to hear me out on this one. It's going to sound a little weird, but just bear with me. I'm not going to go into the direct numbers because this would have to be play tested, kind of, or they would have to be, hey, we're going to experiment with this, see how it works. At this point, I don't think anyone involved in World v World is going to mind if we experiment a little and a couple weeks are wonky, as long as it's different and it's fun and it's engaging again. Not that it's not engaging now, but it could be more. And it's not going to take a ton of effort to make this more engaging, which is kind of the point of my video. So now we're going to talk about the Bloodlust buff. So the way that we're going to make coverage a little less tricky for a lot of servers is because some servers can focus a lot on prime time but don't have oceanic coverage or don't have coverage 24/7. Now what we do is we make the Bloodlust buff work a little different. So now this Bloodlust buff, you can do the kills, but on low pop servers like, or low tier servers, the Bloodlust buff doesn't do anything pretty much at all. There's really no difference. It makes a lot of difference in tier 1, and I know that. So but there's more than just tier 1. And this actually affects tier 1 a lot as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it so the Bloodlust buff can stay the same, or you could even have it right in the middle. But it's going to be a boss. Say maybe you have to control the Bloodlust from that Borderlands to take that boss down. And it'll have a righteous maybe 15 minutes, something a little longer than the 5. Now the reason for this is that this boss only spawns when a population threshold of a minimum of 2 of the 3 servers is reached. Now for some servers, the tier 1s in particular, this would always be active. For some smaller servers, like the ones I'm kind of in now, this would only be active during prime time. Now people are saying, well, only prime time North America. No. Prime time Oceanic as well. Because their prime time needs to be just as a necessity as North American. Both need to be represented. And what this prime time buff does is increase the points you get for each of the major keeps. So Garrison, Dreaming Bay, Hills, for all of those, they would change, of course, because the map is going to change. But the idea is that there are 3 main keeps. And then, of course, Stone Mist. So then Stone Mist is really valuable because it'd be worth even extra points. So the coordination required in order to not only have this buff, but to also get Stone Mist, would be enough to break up a lot of Zergs. So this is another thing that a lot of people have is the Zerg mentality. Well, you're going to need to break them up and coordinate a little better in order to maintain this. So by giving those few extra points, yes, prime time is worth a few more points. Does that mean that it's the end-all be-all? No. Because 24/7 coverage would theoretically still get you more points than prime time. It's just that prime time is worth a little more. So the people playing on prime time feel like they're actually accomplishing something other than just, okay, whatever. Then you really want to use tactics. You really want to do all those smart and intelligent things in order to do all the right tactical maneuvers and all the right cool tricky things, like only taking keeps and defending when you have very little time left. So then that way, once that timer resets, okay, have it all, and then we'll take it back later on. Moves like that. So what this does is focuses a little more on making prime time not more special, but more of something. Because when there's more people involved, it should mean just, I'm not saying a lot, just a little extra. Like the point threshold would be maybe another 100 points spread between all of the stuff. So it's not like it's that big a deal. It's not even that huge. But it just means that prime time's a lot more. Will it inflate some scores for some servers? Yes, but that'll inflate it for all the servers. So, like the tier 1 servers, for example, like I said, would probably have those buffs pretty much 24/7. Because their population threshold would almost always be met in tier 1. When Sanctum Overall was in tier 1, it was pretty much always Zergs going around 24/7 when we were with Jade Quarry and Blackgate. I'm sure really nothing's changed there. But for smaller servers, it means that prime time is a little more useful. This is just a theory, an idea. It might not just work, but making the shorter matchups would help. The reason I say that is because a lot of people instantly give up. If you're in a lopsided match, you're just like, oh, they're winning by a large margin, I'm just going to go to Edge of the Mists. Forget it. I'm not even going to waste my time with my Borderlands. I'm just going to go to Edge of the Mists. So that helps deal with coverage, and it helps deal with attendance. Because if you have a bad matchup, you're not going to give up so easily. Because in another day, it's going to be completely new. And that's the reason why a lot of servers got so bad, was because when you had that lopsided match, you just gave up. So a lot of people just simply gave up. There's no point. So by adding the new rewards and adding this new sort of shorter matchups, but better rewards for the weekly winner of the tournament, that's cool. Now, you could even do now for the seasons. So now, because we're in the middle of a season, at the time of making this video, make it so that there's a new special kind of token that are only available for the season and give a special sort of skin. Now you really want to win the season, because there's only going to be amount of tokens you could mathematically earn for that season. And if you want to get those cool cosmetic rewards, and again, they're only cosmetic rewards, not combat based, they're not monetary, only cosmetic. They're not worth gold, they're not going to increase stats. No, only cosmetic. So in that way, you really want to win. You really want to be that guy who's like, yeah, I want to win. And say you're in tier 1. And you're not going to win that matchup. This is actually going to create exoduses to servers who might not necessarily be in tier 1. So you have the exact opposite. You're going to want to go to smaller populations. So the population could potentially spread itself out during seasons to make the competition even more interesting. Because then now the lowest tier servers are actually going to have a lot of excitement, because a lot of people want to win those extra super cool rewards, and they're going to spread themselves. Now, these rewards would be tied, I think we're going to have to go back to tying to the original server you're in at the very, very beginning to spread the population out, but give a good warning before the season begins so that everyone spreads themselves out, right? And then offer those great rewards at the very end of it so that you hold true to that server at the beginning of the season. And you want that server to win. You don't just jump halfway through because you're just going to get nothing. So everyone wants to commit to these servers. You have huge exodus to these servers that never really had population. So now you have a wider and more flavorful competition among all of the tiers. So then that way, if you know you might not win tier 1, you're going to switch to maybe a tier 2 server. If you're not quite sure about tier 2, you want to, an entire guild wants to go, hey, we're going to go down to one of those tier 8 servers and we're going to win that. We want those cool cosmetic rewards. Okay, well, that might cause problems, certainly, but that's something that can be addressed through many different ways. And this reward system is one of the easier ways to sort of deal with it. Because just because a lot of people hop to one server doesn't necessarily mean that server is going to win in tier 8 or whatever. And most of those servers, World v World is pretty much dead anyway. So a lot of it's going to be focused on tier 1, 2, 3, mostly. Anyways, I'm going to cut the video out here, but you kind of get my drift. So asymmetrical World v. World maps with different environments. I cannot stress that enough. Different environments, so then you actually feel like you're taking over something different that's not yours. That's vital. The rewards are cosmetic and they're exclusive now to World v. World, and they're in the form of tokens that you either get for doing the achievements weekly, or your server winning weekly. You get a little chest and you get some of those rewards, things like that. And then possibly even doing a primetime buff that has a population threshold minimum of, say, 2 servers. You preferably could do 3. So that way most servers might never even see it. They may not see it in their matchups, but that's okay. They don't really need it as much. That's kind of a more shot in the dark, kind of a rough sketch idea. It's not a super good one. But lowering and doing a weekly tournament would be interesting. Because then you have this great competition where a lot of guilds now suddenly really want to get involved because they want to get their cosmetic rewards. And these cosmetic rewards are quite long lasting because you can do 1 set of each armor and then 1 of each weapon. And people have alts. I run my hunter, I run my thief, and I also run my warrior, and sometimes my necro. I don't really run my necro often. Even though the bags, there's not as many zergs in this tier, so I just don't run my necro. But in tier 1, I'll tell you, oh my goodness, so many bags. So anyways, thanks for watching. Hopefully this can kind of breathe some new life into the discussion about making World v. World more interesting and compelling and rewarding. And really, a lot of these implements aren't going to be super hard to make, and I think will be good for ArenaNet in the long run. Thanks for watching. I am ArbGren, and happy hunting and great World v. World, because my goodness. And good luck in this season, because who knows what'll happen. The season's early.